My name is Lin Hao. I am an ordinary college student. My biggest trouble is whether I can pass the final exam. But who could have thought that just yesterday, my life was finally overturned? That night, I was browsing my phone in the dormitory, and my roommates all went to the internet all night, and the room was so quiet that I could only hear the sound of me sliding the screen. Suddenly, the dormitory door was knocked so hard that it seemed like someone was going to smash the door. My heart skipped a beat. Who was looking for me in the middle of the night? Could it be the teacher who checked the test? I rubbed over and opened the door, and as soon as the door opened, standing outside was an old man wearing a long gray dress, full of facial patterns, and his eyes were as sharp as a knife. As soon as he opened his mouth, his voice was so low that it made people feel angry. "Lin Hao, come with me and tell you if you have something to do." I was stunned for a moment. The first reaction in my brain was whether this person was sick. Duh, who are you? What are you looking for me to fuck me in the middle of the night? The old man didn't say anything, and took out an ancient copper card from it with a plate of dragons engraved on it, and some incomprehensible symbols were still ringed around the dragon. When I saw this thing, my heart was inexplicably thrilled, as if I had seen it somewhere, but I couldn't remember it. "My name is Chinjiu, and I am the elder of your family. This copper card is the token of your Lin family. You told me before that you must tell you the truth in your 20s. Old Chen's temperament was unquestionable, and he stared at me as if he wanted to see through me. What? Family elder? Token? I was confused and thought that this old man was probably a charlatan and ran to fool people. But looking at his true feelings, it doesn't look like a joke. I hesitated for a moment, and asked, "Tell me clearly, what's the truth?" Chen didn't rush to answer, but signaled me to close the door, and then said in a low voice, "Your Lin family is not an ordinary family, you are descendants of the guardians of the Bermuda Triangle. There is a huge secret hidden in that area, about the treasures and supernatural powers of the lost civilization. And you are covered with blood that can sense the energy of the ocean. Now, it's time for you to take on the mission." I laughed and felt that the old man's brain was too big, right? Duh, don't be so sad. Bermuda Triangle? Baozan? What kind of network novel is this? I'm just an ordinary student, so how can I have blood? Old Chen's face darkened, ignored my ridicule and grabbed my wrist directly. I didn't react yet, and a cold chill came from his palm to me, as if the whole person had been wiped into an ice hole. I subconsciously wanted to slap, but my wrist seemed to be stuck by an iron clutch and I couldn't move at all. "Don't act." Old Chen sniffed, then closed his eyes and chanted in his mouth, as if he was chanting some mantra. My heart was getting wet, but before I could open my mouth, my chest suddenly felt hot, as if something was about to be pulled out. Then, a storm of sea appeared in my brain, the waves slammed against the reefs, the air was filled with fishy smell, and even heard a deep croaker, like a call from the deep sea. What's going on?" I was shocked and said. The old Chen then relaxed his hand, and there was a little more satisfaction in his eyes. "This is your blood waking up. Did you feel it? It's the ocean calling you. Lin Hao, you can't escape, this is your destiny." I stayed where I was, my heart was in irritation. Although I don't want to admit it, the feeling just now is too real and doesn't look like an illusion at all. But I was still stubborn. "This is too irritating, right? How do I know if you are a scammer?" Old Chen sneered, took out another broken leather notebook from it and threw it into my hand. "This is the diary left by you, which records the history of the Lin family's Bermuda protection and some secrets into the door. You can read it yourself, and decide whether to believe it or not after reading it." I took the notebook and flipped the first page with my fingers trembling. It was indeed my pen, and wrote, "How, if you see this diary, you will be on the road to guarding the people. Bermuda's traits are about the fate of the world, remember not to let the treasure fall into the hands of the evil people." As I looked at these words, my heart beats faster and faster. When Yui died, I was still young. I only remember that he always loved to tell me some strange stories from the sea. At that time, I thought it was a coaxing child, but now it seems that those stories are not simple. "You believe it now?" Old Chen interrupted my thoughts. Tomorrow morning, go to a place with me. I will teach you the first secret to give you real bloody power. But you have to prepare mentally. This road is not easy, and someone has already set his sights on you. Who is eyeing me? I was stunned, feeling that this matter was getting worse and worse. The old man narrowed his eyes and spit out a name, Zhang Quan, the young man from the financial insurance company. Their family has been typing Bermuda's idea for the past few years, and they have known about the existence of your Lin family for a long time. This diary in your hand is the key line they want to snatch. My brain buzzed and felt like I was being thrown into a game that I couldn't understand at all. But before I could digest the information, the dormitory window suddenly bang-sounded smashed, and several men in black suits flipped in, holding sticks in their hands, with bad eyes. Lin Hao, hand over the diary, otherwise don't think about it today. The man in the head sneered, his voice full of threats. My heart was tightened, and my hand holding the diary was shaking. What's going on with this mother? Is anyone really here to get something? The old man reacted very quickly, pulled me behind him, and said in a low voice, "Don't be stunned, listen to me and run." After saying that, he took out a short knife from his clothes, pulled out the stand, and pressed it in front of those people. I never saw this. My legs were soft, but I still slammed my head and my head hard. But after just running 2 steps, I was hit by a memory stick in my brain. The pain made my eyes dark and I almost passed. Run? Do you think you can run away? The leader smiled mockingly, caught up with me in a few steps, and kicked me in the back. I fell a dog to eat shit, and the diary in my hand almost fell out. Chow, are you sick? I gritted my teeth and got up, my brain full of fire. But there are many people on the other side, so how can I beat a student? Seeing them approaching, I was desperately looking in my heart. At this moment, Old Chen suddenly shouted, "Lin Hao, close your eyes and feel the power in your body." His voice seemed to be carrying some magic power, making me subconsciously follow it. I closed my eyes, and the sea appeared in the brain, and the sound of the waves became clearer and clearer. Suddenly, I felt a warm current flowing out from my chest, and my arms flowing to my fingers. The whole person seemed to have been injected with some kind of energy. Just now, do it. Old Chen's voice sounded again. I didn't know where the courage came from, so I suddenly opened my eyes and shook my right hand. The next second, an invisible force shook out from my palm, directly knocking the man in front of me out, smashing him on the wall, and making a sound. Collection, what's the point? I was stunned. Looking at my hands, I felt like I was dreaming. The other black men were also stunned, but quickly reacted and shouted, "This kid is weird, catch him." My heart beat fast and exploded, but my brain was sober. The old man Chen had already solved the 2 opponents at this time and shouted, "Don't be stunned, go." I clicked the head, grabbed the diary, and followed him out of the dormitory. The people behind him were still chasing, talking about something like "Young Master Zhang won't let you go." We ran all the way, finally we left the pursuers and hid into a small alley. I gasped, my brain was full of that scene, and I couldn't help asking, "Old Chen, what was that? How could I beat someone away?" Old Chen wiped the sweat from his head and grinned, "That's your blood power, the first awakening of ocean energy. But this is just the beginning, you still have to learn to control it, otherwise it won't be so good next time." I heard that I could understand half or not, but an inexplicable sense of excitement arose in my heart. It turns out that I am not an ordinary person. This kind of power is so cool. Don't be too early. Old Chen broke my fantasy, that guy Zhang Kuang is not a good guy. Today is just a little bitch. Since he knows that you are awake, he will definitely take a heavy move next time. You have to keep your time tight and learn secrets with me, otherwise you will not be able to save your life. I was a little scared, but I was more expectant. Zhang Kuang, right? Come on, see who will kill him. At this time, the old Chen took out a broken map from his pocket, pointed to a mark on it and said, "Tomorrow, we will go here. There is the key to your awakening, and it also hides the first trace of Bermuda. Are you ready?" I looked at the sea area marked with the forbidden area on the map, my heart beat faster, and I said stubbornly, "What's there to be afraid of? Come on." It was just dawn, and Chen and I arrived at the place he said, a broken small code located on the edge of the city, with the air full of fishy smells of fish and sea water. The surroundings were quiet and there were only a few birds that occasionally called two sounds. I lowered my head and looked at the rotten wooden board under my feet, and my heart was bloated. It was no matter how hard I looked at this place. "Is this the forbidden entrance you said?" I couldn't help but complain and glanced at old Chen, looking at it as no different from the borrowing port. Chen ignored my jail time, took out the broken map from it, steered on a steel barrel, pointed to a sea area marked on it, and said, "Don't underestimate this place. There is a secret waterway below the head of this code, which directly leads to the first key point of the Bermuda Triangle. In this area on the map, there is the first line, a stone tablet that can guide the direction of the treasury." I looked over and saw that the marks on the map were indeed a little bit of a doorway, and there were a few symbols that I couldn't understand, which looked quite similar to those drawn in my diary. Old Chen snorted coldly, raised his head and pointed to an old boat parked by the code. The paint on the hull was gone, and it seemed that it could fall apart at any time. "Swim? Want to drown yourself? Take that boat, let's go out to sea." My mouth twitched, thinking that this old man was really brave enough to play. He took this broken boat to sea, afraid that he would not give it to others. But before I could say anything more, a crisp female voice came from the side. "Wait, I'll go too." I turned around and saw a girl in a denim jacket, carrying a big backpack and holding a professional camera in her hand. Her skin was white and her eyes were big and bright, and she felt indescribable when she smiled. I was stunned for a moment and thought to myself, "Who is this? Why are you going to fuck this broken place?" Old Chen had a snake, and obviously he didn't expect anyone to appear. "Who are you? This place is not something to play." The girl was not afraid of the scene, and walked over with a smile, stretched out her hand and said, "My name is Xiaoya, an oceanologist. I have studied the Bermuda Triangle for 3 years. I heard that there are abnormal energy fluctuations in this sea area, so I came here to find out. I just heard that you mentioned the ropes and stone tablets, and I think I can help you." I was stunned by the hearing. "Oceanographer? This girl looks about the same age as me, why does she do such a high-end career?" But she said it straight, her eyes filled with excitement, which made people want to believe her for a few points. Old Chen glanced at her, still speaking coldly. "Help? Little girl, this is not a wild adventure, it may be lifeless at any time. Are you sure you want to be harmonious?" Xiaoya said with utmost silence and said indifferently, "What are you afraid of? I have drifted on the sea several times and have seen more wind and waves. Besides, aren't you just a shortage of people who understand ocean data? I have equipment that can help you locate abnormalities, how about it?" I looked at her confident look and felt a little impressed, but I couldn't help but remind, "Girl, this is really dangerous, why don't you think about it?" Xiaoya blinked at me and said with a smile, "Danger? That's exciting. Besides, I have a straightforward feeling. You will definitely find a big discovery. I don't want to miss this opportunity." Old Chen was silent for a few seconds, and finally said, "Okay, since you are not afraid of death, just follow us. But I warn you, listen to the instructions and don't come." Xiaoya clapped her hands happily, "No problem. Then when will we go out?" "Now." Chen didn't say anything, packed up the map and walked straight to the broken ship. Xiaoya and I looked at each other and followed her with a hard face. As soon as the boat started, it made a squeaking sound, and my heart was filled with hair, and I always felt that this thing could turn over at any time. The sea surface is still calm, and the sunlight is on the water surface, reflecting dazzling light. I stood on the deck, holding the diary of Yui in my hands, and my brain was filled with the scene of awakening my strength last night. Xiaoya leaned against the side of the ship, holding a utensil and recording data constantly, muttering in her mouth, "There is indeed a problem in the magnetic field in this sea area, and the data is abnormal and irrelevant." I went over and asked curiously, "Can you really find the abnormal point? How do you detect that thing?" Xiaoya raised her head and smiled, shook the equipment in her hand. This is a magnetic field detector that can capture energy fluctuations on the seabed. The abnormal phenomenon of the Bermuda Triangle cannot be explained scientifically, but I guess it has something to do with some unknown energy. The story of your family may really be based on scientific knowledge. I heard that I had a little understanding or not, but I thought she was quite reasonable, and I trusted her a little more. Old Chen walked over and said in a deep voice, "Don't talk, the sea area marked in front is marked. If you are ready, there may be danger." I sniffed my head, took a deep breath, and stared at the sea. Sure enough, it didn't take long before the sky suddenly darkened, and the originally calm sea began to swell, and the wind became bigger and bigger, as if someone was moving something on the bottom of the sea. "Trouble, how do you say it's going to change this day?" I couldn't help but stumble, grabbed the side of the ship, and my body was blown straight by the wind. Xiaoya looked at the instrument with her eyebrows down, and there was a tight slight in her voice. The magnetic field data surged, as if she had entered a certain energy field. "This storm is abnormal, maybe it was human." "People?" I was stunned, and without reacting, the old Chen suddenly shouted, "Be careful, someone." As the voice fell, a black speedboat suddenly appeared on the sea far away, with a very fast speed that rushed us here. There were several men in black standing on the speedboat, wearing ink glasses on their heads, holding smoke in their mouths, and full of faces. When I saw the fight, my heart sank and immediately guessed who it was. Zhang Kuang's subordinate. Old Chen said, gritting his teeth, narrowing his eyes into a line, "This kid is indeed unwilling to give up and ambushed in advance." I clenched my fists tightly, and the fire rose up. "Grass, this is really a piece of food. How did you know we will come here?" Old Chen sneered. "His family is very powerful and has a lot of ears and ears. I guess he has been eyeing this sea area for a long time. Lin Hao, be prepared, don't let them get ahead." I was a little bit too much, and although I was a little panicked, I was more of a dissatisfied person. "Want to snatch my stuff?" "No door." But before I could think about it, the speedboat was approaching, and the man in the head took off the ink lens and revealed a familiar face, Zhang Kuang. "Yi, Lin Hao, I didn't expect you to come." Zhang Kuang laughed so hard, his voice was particularly harsh in the wind. "I'll tell you something, hand over the diary and the ropes, otherwise today's sea will be your burial place." I gritted my teeth and stared at him fiercely. "Zhang Kuang, do you think I'm afraid of you? If you have the ability, come and try it." Zhang Kuang laughed and snatched his hands. Several of his subordinates immediately took out their weapons from the speedboat, and several jumped into the water, as if they were preparing to encircle us from the seabed. My heart was so nervous that these people were really playing. At this moment, the sea suddenly trembled violently, and the storm instantly resumed, rolling up huge waves, and slapped directly at our boat. The hull shook violently, and I was not standing firm for a moment and was almost thrown into the sea. Xiaoya screamed, and the instrument in her hand fell off. She hugged the ship's side and shouted, "There is something wrong with this storm, and something is moving under the sea." Old Chen's face was blue and he growled, "It was the energy field that was touched." "Lin Hao, close his eyes and feel it." I was stunned, but I still did it subconsciously, closed my eyes, and a storm immediately appeared in the sea of brain. The sea water seemed to be alive, constantly surging. I could feel a powerful force spiraling under the sea, as if to tear everything apart. My chest was hot again, and the blood began to boil, and my hands were shaking unconsciously. "Finished." I suddenly opened my eyes and pointed in a direction and shouted, "There is an energy core at the bottom of the sea, and the storm was emitted from that." The old man Chending pointed me and shouted, "Take the way and use your power to stabilize the ship." I bit my teeth tightly, pressed my hands on the side of the boat, trying to guide the heat flow in my body out. The next second, an invisible force stormed out from my palm, as if forming a protective cover, resisting the huge waves that were being photographed. Although the ship was still shaking, it never crawled over. "I can do it." I felt excited in my heart. This feeling of controlling everything was so good. Xiaoya looked at me, her eyes full of shock. "Lin Hao, your ability is so great. Hurry up, Go in the direction you said and avoid the center of the storm. I pointed to the direction of that energy core, and let Lao Chen adjust the route. But Zhang Kuang was not stupid either. Seeing that we were successful in the sudden circle, he immediately caught up with him, and still shouted in his mouth, "Want to run? No door! Hit me over them!" His speedboat was faster and was about to hit him. I felt anxious and suddenly snatched my hand. Another force rushed out, directly raising a wave and blocking their way. Zhang Kuang was slapped by the waves, covered in water, and was so angry that he was, "Lin Hao, you mother are waiting." I didn't care about him and was dedicated to the energy field at the bottom of the sea. The storm was getting stronger and stronger, and the visible speed on the sea was almost zero. Thunder exploded in the sky, as if it could be slashed down at any time. I felt the power in my body was rapidly losing, and the amount was covered in cold sweat, but I still gritted my teeth and suffocated. "It's coming soon!" Xiaoya suddenly shouted, with anger in the sound. "There is a whirlpool in front of it, and the energy fluctuation is the strongest. It must be the location of the cable." I glanced at it with a slight look, and sure enough, a huge vortex appeared on the sea ahead, as if it could swallow everything. A dark blue light appeared in the center of the vortex, making people's skin numb. Old Chen said in a deep voice, "That's the entrance, but it's too dangerous. Let's open it first and find a chance to get out." But at this moment, a low roar suddenly came from the bottom of the sea, as if some kind of giant beast was roaring. My heart skipped a beat and my hair was growing. The next second, a huge black shadow suddenly appeared from the vortex. The pilogram flashed with cold light under the lightning, and his eyes were red like blood, staring at our ship. "What's this, mother?" I almost jumped up in surprise, and my voice was trembling. Xiaoya's face was pale and she said tremblingly, "No. I don't know, it may be some unknown creature. Bermuda's statement mentioned that there are guardians under the sea." The old Chen held a short knife with a cold look. "Don't panic, this thing is a product of the energy field, driven by the treasure protection mechanism. Lin Hao, use your blood to press it." I swallowed. My heartbeat was so fast that it was about to explode, but I still closed my eyes with my skin and tried to circulate the blood. This time, I felt a deeper connection, like having some kind of co-bearing with the monster. It roared and did not attack again, but dived back to the depth of the vortex. "It's done!" I relaxed my breath and wiped my sweat, feeling that my whole body was about to lose my body. Xiaoya looked at me, her eyes filled with admiration. "Lin Hao, you are so bad. This monster, did it hear you?" I smiled bitterly and shook my head. How could I know? It might be the blood veins. "But this place is too evil. We have to grab the ropes and find the ropes and can't stay for a long time." The old Chinding said in a deep voice, "There is a stone tablet under the vortex, but Zhang Kuang is still chasing behind him, and the storm has not stopped. Lin Hao, can you help me again?" I gritted my teeth and felt that the strength in my body was almost exhausted, but I still said, "No problem, come down and see what secrets are hidden in this stone tablet." The boat was close to the whirlpool, and the blue light became more and more dazzling, and my heart was both tight and excited. Zhang Kuang's speedboat wandered nowhere, as if ready to come up at any time. And at the bottom of the sea, the low roar rose again, making people's backs swell. The sea breeze was waving, scraping on my face like a knife. I stood on the side of the boat, holding the diary left by the shore with both hands, my heartbeat as fast as a drumbeat. The blue light in the center of the vortex became more and more dazzling, as if it could suck all the souls of a person. The low roar at the bottom of the sea kept rising and making people feel hairy. Zhang Kuang's speedboat was circling around the corner. Although it was swayed by the waves that I had just started, they obviously did not intend to give up and were ready to come up and take a step forward at any time. "Lin Hao, don't be distracted, focus on responding to the energy at the bottom of the sea." Old Chen's voice came from his ears, with unquestionable calmness. I bit my teeth tightly, closed my eyes, and tried to contact the boiling blood force in my body again. In the brain, the sound of the sea water surrounds becomes clearer and clearer. I can feel a huge energy core under the vortex, which is beating like a heart, and each stroke is filled with a suffocating pressure. It's right below, the stone tablet must be there. I suddenly opened my eyes and pointed to the center of the vortex, and the sound was trembling, but this energy is too strong. If we go straight down, we may be torn to pieces. Xiaoya squatted beside her, looking at the instrument with a white face, and her fingers quickly knocked on the screen. Yes, the magnetic field data has already exploded. The energy field here is not something humans can bear at all. Lin Hao, you just pressed that monster. Can you come again and calm down this area? I smiled bitterly and wiped the sweat from the top. I thought, but I almost squeezed me dry just now. Now my hands are shaking, so I can't be more powerful. Old Chen pointed his eyebrows, stared at Yuki tightly, and said in a low voice, "It's okay if it doesn't work. That guy Zhang Kuang won't give us a chance to breathe. If you don't press on this energy field, don't talk about the stone tablet, even the ship wrestle has to explain this." I gritted my teeth and knew he was right. Behind, Zhang Kuang's speedboat approached a few more points. He stood at the head of the boat, smiled at me and shouted, "Lin Hao, don't stumble. How long can your little handful last? Hand over the ropes obediently, I might even save your life. Keep you big." I spat fiercely, and the fire rose up, and turned to the old Chen. "Okay, I'll fight. Old Chen, you help me for a while. Xiaoya, help me stare at the instrument, and tell me about the energy change at any time." Xiaoya was slightly slight, and there was a little worry in her eyes, but she still said calmly, "Okay, be careful, I will report it to you in real time." I took a deep breath, pressed my hands on the side of the boat, and closed my eyes and felt the power again. The heat flow inside the body was like an ignited flame. Although it was weak, it was still forced out by me. I felt the whirlwind energy field like countless hands were pulling me, and my brain was dizzy and almost passed by. "Lin Hao, the data is decreasing, and the energy field is showing signs of weakening. Continue." Xiaoya's voice seemed like a life-saving straw, which made me hard and not fall down. I bit my teeth tightly, and the veins in the head swelled up, feeling like I was overdrawing myself every minute and every second. At this moment, the sea suddenly shook violently, and a water column suddenly burst out from the center of the vortex, rising into the sky like a volcanic spray. Then, the black shadow appeared again, the giant ocean monster. The tiny flashed in the blue light, and the red eyes stared at us, and the roar made people's ears numb. The trough is coming again. My heart was tightened, almost calm. When my hand shook, the energy field began to run wild again. The hull shook violently, and it was almost rolled into the whirlpool. Xiaoya screamed and hugged the ship's side. "Lin Hao, stay calm. This monster must be the guardian of Baozong, it will not allow us to get closer." Old Chen held a tight knife, stood beside me, and said in a deep voice, "Don't panic, Lin Hao, remember the secret words I taught you, and use blood to squeeze it together. Quick!" My brain was in a mess, but I still forced myself to calm down and read the strange sounds that Master Chen taught me in a low voice. These verbs are like some ancient language. Every time I pronounce a word, the heat flow in my body becomes stronger. "Just now, let me back!" I yelled suddenly, pushed forward with both hands, and an invisible force rushed out, striking the monster's brain. It sounded a low voice, and its huge body actually retreated slowly and dived back to the depths of the vortex. "It's done!" Xiaoya jumped up excitedly and gave me a thumbs up. "Lin Hao, you're so awesome. This monster really hears you." I gasped heavily, feeling my whole body felt like I was hollowed out, and I was free even when I stood. I could only lean against the side of the boat and smiled. "Ah, awesome, I'm almost dead. But the energy field is stable, we can get closer." Old Chen patted my shoulder, and there was a little relief in his eyes. "I've had a good time, and it's even more dangerous next time, and I'll prepare for the dive. I'll take the helm, you and Xiaoya should protect you, and you should always face the sudden situation." I clicked my head and took out the diving equipment from my backpack. Although my hands were still shaking, an inexplicable desire aroused in my heart. The moment I just took off the monster, it was so cool. This feeling of controlling everything made me realize for the first time that I really could become a guardian in the tradition. But before we could catch our breath, the crazy speedboat behind us suddenly accelerated and rushed forward. They took advantage of our empty space to deal with the monster and forced themselves to pass the outside of the energy field, and the ship pointed directly at our broken ship. Zhang Kuang stood at the head of the boat, shouting with his face, "Lin Hao, thank you for helping you open the road. My Zhang family is going to make a reservation. Chow, you mother really don't have to face." I was so angry that I turned around and yelled at the old man, "You can't let them get ahead, we'll be on the verge of getting up and down." Old Chinding said in a deep voice, "Xiaoya, please stay on the boat to monitor the data. Lin Hao and I will go down. How long can your broken boat last? Don't wait for it to be sunk." Xiaoya bit her lip. Although she was unwilling to give up, she still heard the point. "Okay, be careful, I will guard this side and communicate with you at any time." Chen and I quickly put on our diving suits, checked the equipment, and jumped directly from the side of the boat into the cold sea water. The moment I entered the water, the biting chill made me feel excited, but then, the blood force in my body seemed to be activated, bringing a warm current, making me suitable for the water pressure. Below the vortex, the blue light became stronger, like an entrance to another world. Old Chen and I were wearing diving lenses, diving downwards with the light source, and the water flowed around us, as if countless hands were pushing us. I could feel the blood boiling, as if I was completely awakened by the energy field here, and every cell was shaking. "Old Chen, have you heard it? There is a sound," I said in a low voice through the communication device, and I heard a low-frequency sound in my ears, like the sound of the monster just now, but it was deeper, as if warning us. Old Chen's voice came from the communication device, carrying a tight spot. "I heard it, don't be distracted. The stone tablet is right in front, grab the time." I clicked the head and speeded up, and finally saw a huge black stone tablet at the bottom of the water, with ancient symbols engraved on the surface, exactly like the ones painted in the diary. A layer of light curtain is surrounded by a dark blue light curtain, like some kind of protection mechanism. I tried to get closer, but as soon as I reached out, I was blown up by a strong recoil force, which almost knocked me up. "Both groove, this thing has a boundary," I said, gritting my teeth, feeling anxious. If this boundary cannot be cracked, the traces of the stone tablet will not be obtained, and Zhang Kuang, the guy who can catch up with him at any time. Old Chinyu came to me and said in a low voice, "This is the guardian boundary of Baozang, only blood power can be unlocked." Lin Hao closes his eyes, and responds with his heart, just like he just suppressed a monster, trying to share the geek with the boundary. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and an unscathing ocean appeared in the sea of brain, and the blood power was adjusted again. This time, I felt that the boundaries seemed to be alive, and began to talk to my mind. Countless ancient sounds were heard in my brain, as if I was examining my qualifications. "Chow, what's this thing? Don't play with me with the spirit chicken soup." I felt anxious, but I still kept my head tight and focused, trying to respond to those sounds with my blood. Rarely, the light curtain at the boundary began to shake, and the blue light became weaker and weaker, and finally a gap broke in front of me. "It's done!" I shouted excitedly, and impelled the old man to make a move. "Hurry, go in and get the rope." We quickly passed through the gap and came to the stone tablet. I looked carefully and saw a simple map engraved in the center of the stone tablet, marking the direction of the next line, and there was a line of small words next to it, writing, "Only the Lord of Blood can control the heart of the ocean." Although I couldn't understand what it meant, I still took a photo with a diving camera and prepared to go back and study it. But at this moment, the water flow suddenly stormed violently, and a rapid bubble sound came from behind. I turned my head and saw Zhang Kuang riding several subordinates, but he actually dived, holding a certain high-tech device in his hand, like a device that can interfere with the boundaries. He saw me and grinned through the diving lens. His voice came through the communication device, "Lin Hao, thank you, help me again. I have accepted this stone tablet. I'll take you." I was so angry that my lungs were about to explode. I turned around and shouted at the old Chen, "I can't let him succeed, we have to hold him." Old Chen snorted coldly and held the short knife. "If you can't hold it, you have to slap it." If you can't hold it, let Xiaoya prepare to retreat. Lin Hao, use your last strength to give them a look. I pointed at the head. Although my physical strength had reached its limit, I still held the blood force to activate it. Both hands suddenly slapped, and a stream of water rushed towards Zhang Kuang and others like a cannon. Although the other party had equipment, I didn't expect that I could still make a move. Several people were knocked out and even the instruments dropped. Lin Hao, your mother is looking for death. Zhang Kuang roared in a hurry, but when the water squirted, the sound stopped and it seemed that he had eaten a big shot. I took the opportunity to pull the old man upstream and said in my mouth, I have the ability to chase you, let's see who will die first. Although my mouth was hard, I knew in my heart that if I continue to fight at this state, I really have to explain this. As soon as we surfaced, we saw Xiaoya rushing our hands anxiously. The water flow around the broken ship had become calmer, but Zhang Kuang's speedboat was still wandering away, as if it could pass by at any time. She shouted, get on the boat quickly, the data shows that the energy field is about to go wild again, we have to run. Old Chen and I climbed onto the boat, took off our diving suit, and looked at each other with heavy breathing, and saw the fatigue and excitement in each other's eyes. I took out the camera from my pocket and grinned. I got the line and took a picture of the map. Zhang Kuang was empty-handed and enjoyed it. Chen Ding was still solemn, don't be too early to get up, Zhang Kuang won't give up like this. Although he got the rope, the next location of the stone tablet mark is even more dangerous. We have to recover and prepare for greater trouble. I looked away, Zhang Kuang's speedboat approached. He stood at the head of the boat, his eyes as cold as a poisonous snake, and he was obviously calculating his next move. And under the sea, the low roar echoed again, as if reminding me that Bermuda's secret had not been revealed yet. The sea wind made people's face hurt. I stood on the side of the boat, holding the map photo of the stone tablet that I had just taken from the bottom of the water in my hand. My heartbeat was not calm yet. Just under the whirlpool, although he had a strong sway, I knew that this guy would never stop like this. Far away, his speedboat was still wandering, and the eyes of Zhang Kuang on the boat were as poisonous as a snake, as if he was ready to take it up and take a bite. Lin Hao, don't be stunned. We have to retreat. This energy field may explode again at any time. Xiaoya looked at the instrument and shouted anxiously. Her face was a little white, and the shock of the sea just now and the roar of monsters also made her feel very stressed. The old man Chen Ding's face was as dark as a block of iron. Yes, the stone tablet line has been obtained, and the next stop is the real core belt, the hiding point of Bermuda. That boy Zhang Kuang must have seen a part of the map, and we must be in front of him. I gritted my teeth. Although my physical strength was almost limiting, the unconvincing suffocation in my heart made me click, okay, go. Let that guy eat dust. The broken ship started squeakingly and rushed towards the next direction of the map mark. Although the storm on the sea was a little calmer, there was still a sense of slight pressure in the air, as if there would be some big trouble at any time. I sat on the deck, gasping for a long time, looking through the map photos I had just taken. The place marked on it was at the deepest point of the Bermuda Triangle, and there was a line of small words next to it, the heart of the ocean, only the Lord of Blood can hold. Heart of the ocean? What's this? I couldn't help but ask Old Chen, thinking that the name was quite awesome, but I couldn't touch my head at all. Old Chen narrowed his eyes and stared at the sea level far away, his lingering voice, that is the true core of Bermuda sang, which is the source of power that can control the entire ocean. You mentioned in your diary that those who get it can kill the sea, even those unknown creatures, will be killed. But not everyone can bear this power. Only the guardian of the most pure blood can truly seize it. I heard it and my heart was thumping. The red eyes of the giant monster that had just appeared in my brain. If I could make that thing happen, wouldn't it be invincible? But it immediately became more and more hairy. This kind of power is not a good match when you hear it. What should I do if I get rid of it after playing? Don't think too much, go to that place first. I clicked my head, closed my eyes and leaned against the side of the boat, trying to calm down. But before a few minutes was enough, Xiaoya suddenly shouted, no, there is a silence behind her, Zhang Kuang is catching up with her. I suddenly opened my eyes and turned my head to see. Sure enough, the black speedboat appeared again. This time it was faster. There were a few more people on the ship, holding some high-end equipment in my hands. Zhang Kuang stood at the head of the boat, sneering at the corner of his mouth, and shouted across the far away, "Lin Hao, can you escape? Today, I will be sure to take this treasure in Zhang family. Take your head." I was so angry that I stood up that I wanted to get another blood force, but when I lifted my hand, my body was scattered and I almost fell back. Just now, the overdrawing at the bottom of the water was too serious, and now I have no energy to do any major moves. The old man looked at his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "Don't come on hard and save your strength. They have a lot of people, so we have to be smart. Delay time first, get close to the core and then fight back." I gritted my teeth, although I was unwilling to give up, but I also knew that hard work was not the way to go. Xiaoya came here and said in a short voice, "I have an idea. The instrument shows a reef area in front of it, and the undercurrent is complicated. We can lead them over and use the terrain to throw them away." "Okay, that's all." My eyes lit up and I immediately said to Lao Chen, "Change the direction, go to the reef area, and dig a hole for them." The old Chen didn't say anything, but turned the rudder directly, and the broken ship drove staggeringly towards the direction Xiaoya pointed. Zhang Kuang was really aware of helping others, and he was still yelling in his mouth, "I want to run away. I have no door." After entering the reef area, the sea surface became even more vicious. The reef could break through the bottom of the ship at any time, and the water flow was as uneven as a mixer. My heart was full of hair, but I still held my hard work to help my elder Chen stay on the boat. Xiaoya stared at the instrument, and her hand was almost shaking into a squint. "Turn left and avoid that big reef. 50 meters ahead there is an underwater whirlpool, and go over." We reluctantly avoided several dangers, but because of the speed of Zhang Kuang's speedboat, it hit a reef directly. The hull shook violently, and several subordinates were almost thrown into the sea. Zhang Kuang was so angry that he was straightforward, but he still didn't give up and insisted on adjusting the direction and continuing to chase. "Chow, this guy is really like a crazy dog." I couldn't help but complain, and I felt secretly happy. This terrain has indeed helped a lot. Finally, after traversing the last reef area, our ship barely threw them away and accelerated towards the core of the map mark. Far away, Zhang Kuang's speedboat was trapped in the undercurrent and could not move in and out. I felt so happy when I saw him feeling anxious and frustrated. "Let you go to the door first. When I get the treasure, I will see how you jump." I gritted my teeth, clenched my fists, and swore in my heart. After a few hours, we finally arrived at the end of the map mark, a deep sea area with no landmark at all. The sea surface was flat and silenced, like the calmness before the storm, and there was a feeling of uneasy pressure in the air. Xiaoya looked at the instrument with her head low, and her voice was trembling. "The magnetic field data is completely out of control. The energy field here is stronger than anywhere before. We may really reach the core." Old Chen said in a deep voice, "Prepare for dives. Here is the location of the heart of the ocean. Lin Hao, this is your final exam. Whether the blood can fully wake up depends on this time." I took a deep breath, although I felt a little scared, but more excited. After putting on the diving equipment, Chen and I jumped into the cold sea again. Xiaoya stayed on the boat to monitor the data and communicated with us at any time. The underwater view is extremely low, and the surroundings are filled with dark blue light, as if something is guiding us to dive. I could feel the blood power boiling, as if it was fully activated here. Every minute of swimming, the heat flow in my body became stronger. Finally, after a few hundred meters of diving, we saw a huge underwater building, like a lost temple, with a blue crystal radiating with dazzling light floating in the center. "That is the heart of the ocean." Both trough, "This thing is so cool." I widened my eyes through the diving lens, my heart beat so fast that it was about to explode. The crystals were surrounded by countless small light spots, as if they were alive, flowing constantly, and the energy emitted made the pores in my body open. Old Chen's voice came from the communication device, carrying a burst of excitement. "It's it, the heart of the ocean. Lin Hao, get close to it, use blood power to share it with it, only you can unlock its true power. I clicked the head and swam slowly, but just a few meters away, a strong repulsive force rushed over, as if there was an invisible wall in front of me. I bit my teeth tightly, closed my eyes, and tried to adjust the bloody strength and the crystallization dialogue. In the brain, countless ancient sounds echoed again, this time clearer than any previous time, as if I was judging whether I was qualified. "'Cause I'm here, what else can I do to take the exam?" I felt so angry that I kept focusing all my willpower on my blood. Rarely, the repulsive force began to weaken, and the light of the crystal seemed to recognize me and began to merge with my consciousness. The next second, an unparalleled force flowed into my body from the crystal. I felt like I was blending with the entire ocean. I could feel every wave of the seawater and every low sound of the seabed. "It's done!" I suddenly opened my eyes, my voice filled with excitement. "Old Chen, I feel I'm invincible. This power is so cool." Old Chen's voice brought a sense of relief. "Good boy, you did it. Now, you are the true guardian of Bermuda and the master of the heart of the ocean." But before I could have had a good time, the water suddenly stormed violently, and a rapid bubble sound came from behind. I turned my head and saw that Zhang Kuang actually caught up with him again. He was carrying a group of subordinates, wearing a higher-end diving equipment, holding something that looked like an energy weapon, his eyes full of greed and murder. "Lin Hao, give up the heart of the ocean, otherwise you will all die today." Zhang Kuang's voice came from the communication device, making people feel cold and hairy. I sneered, feeling the power in my body was boiling, and I was not afraid of him at all. "Zhang Kuang, your mother really doesn't see the coffin falling off. Come on, let's see who's finished first." After saying that, I swung my hands and a strong current of water rushed towards them like a sea, and even the temple under the water was shocked. Zhang Kuang's men could not resist at all, and were wiped out, and even the energy weapon was directly destroyed by the water flow. Zhang Kuang himself was also rolled into the water, and the diving lenses were cracked, and his face was slammed and thrust into the wolf. "Lin Hao, you can actually control this power," he roared with gritted teeth, but there was a terrifying sound in the sound. "Control? No, this is just an appetizer." I grinned, and the power of the ocean heart in my body exploded again. This time, I directly summoned several underwater giant beasts, staring at Zhang Kuang and the others with red eyes, and the roar was so loud that the water was shaking. Zhang Kuang was panicked at this moment, and his voice was trembling. Don't act, Lin Hao, we have something to say. I can give you all the resources of the Zhang family, as long as you let me go." "Let you go? I think beautiful." I snorted coldly, thinking of this guy who always pointed at me from the beginning, and even sent someone to smash my dormitory, almost killing me, and the fire went up. "Since you started to get me upset on the first day, this account should be calculated clearly. Now, bring me this sea, otherwise don't blame me for being rude." After saying that, I waved my hand and the giant beasts roared and approached Zhang Kuang and the others. He was so surprised that he ordered his retreat, and his subordinates were even more furious and rushed upstream, as if he had seen a ghost. Seeing them running away in panic, I felt so happy that I finally felt so angry. Those who once laughed at me as Wu Chai now have to shut their mouths. "Old Chen, you came to me and patted my shoulder. I've been fucked well, Zhang Kuang is so worried. The safety of the sect in the sea area can finally be handed over to you." I grinned and pointed. "Don't worry, Lao Chen, I will guard the sea." Back on the boat, Xiaoya saw that I was safe and had nothing to do. She excitedly rushed over and hugged me. "Lin Hao, you are so bad. Just now, the energy fluctuations underwater were almost overwhelming, and I thought you were out of here." I was a little embarrassed by her and said, "Well, it's okay. I'm the overlord of the ocean now. What's this small scene?" Old Chen smiled and slammed his head, with a little more relaxed look in his eyes. "Okay, don't be so bad. The secret hidden has been uncovered. The heart of the ocean believes that you are the main one, and the Bermuda's revelation will be extended by you. Next, we have to plan carefully how to use this power to protect this sea area and not let other greedy guys come and worry again." I clicked my head and looked at the calm sea from afar, and an unprecedented sense of responsibility surged in my heart. From a college student who knows nothing to now becoming the overlord of the marine legend, although it was amazing all the way, it also allowed me to find my true self. Don't worry, old Chen and Xiaoya, let's guard this sea together. I clenched my fists and grinned. From today, the Bermuda Triangle is our ground plate. The sea breeze blows, and the sun shines on the sea surface, reflecting dazzling light. I stood on the boat, feeling the movement of the heart of the ocean in my body, and my heart was filled with satisfaction and pride. Zhang Kuang's helper has been completely defeated and he never dared to step into this sea area again. Those who once looked down on me finally saw my harm. This adventure finally put a perfect sentence on the painting. I, Lin Hao, are no longer that ordinary college student, but Bermuda's guardian and overlord of the ocean. In the days ahead, no matter what challenges I have, I can bear it, because this sea has become a part of me. Over.